Welcome, paranormal enthusiasts, to this week's episode of We're Creepin It Reel, here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, where everyone comes for their paranormal fix. Real people, real stories, in real time. So glad you could join us for some ghostly gab. I'm your host, Eleanor Wagner.
Hello, everybody. As always, I appreciate you hitting the subscribe tab, follow button, or show app on your podcast of choice. Everybody give a hello shout out to our coast to coast techie, Chris Mabry. He'll be working hard tonight to help us run smoothly. My guest today is a one woman show. She's the founder, host, producer, and marketing executive behind her Ghost Biker Explorations, a world recognized web series which highlights her travels on her motorcycle to historic and haunted locations around the country. She has been featured in numerous magazines and local newspapers as well, and a guest speaker at events and on podcasts and radio shows. She's the co founder of the company History Highways and Haunts LLC. And if all this isn't enough, she's also the co owner of the historic Scott County Jail, which is a true crime museum and paranormal research center in Huntsville, Tennessee, and historic rugby after dark tours and investigations in Rugby, Tennessee. Join me in welcoming Miranda Young to my show.
Hey, Eleanor.
Hi.
Hey, thank you
Wow,
so
such
much.
amazing resume. I'm thoroughly impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. Keeps me busy.
I'm sure it does. Please tell us how and why you got involved in the paranormal in the first place.
Sure. So I really got involved with it through more of the storytelling side of things, the local legends, folklore. When I was a kid, I lived next door to my grandmother, and she would always share stories about growing up in the Appalachian Mountains. And so, really, I spent a lot of time down there listening to those stories and a lot of time in the library, finding a lot of information as far as some of these old Appalachian tales. And so that's really where I fell in love with the paranormal, was at a very young age, really more from that perspective. And I found that, anytime I could get books that had information on regional hauntings, as well as talking to different folks who lived in the areas that I was going to be traveling to, really kind of getting their sides of the story. I found that that was really where I fell in love with the paranormal. I didn't actually start investigating until just under 15 years ago.
Gotcha. Well, you should come and visit Sussex County, New Jersey, where I live, because I've written about the true account hauntings here, and we have a lot of haunted places for you to venture into.
Yes, a lot of great haunted roads too up in that area.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you are going to share with us a couple of investigations that you've done yourself, and I'm going to provide the listeners with some history before you tell us about what happened. So, the first one we could talk about is the Grand Old Lady Hotel in Balsam, North Carolina. When looking for some information on this lovely old relic, I found that it is said that it was formerly the Balsam Mountain Inn and that it's a 112-year-old wooden neoclassical and Victorian hotel known as South's answer to the Stanley Hotel. I have this on my bucket list now after seeing these photographs of this place. It's just stunning, absolutely stunning. And Chris is going to put up some pictures of the hotel. Picture credit to the Grand Old Lady Hotel website. After seeing pictures of it, like I said, I've added it to my bucket list. It is something that I am insanely drawn to. It's also noted that it harbors a disturbing past, though, with a reputation for being incredibly haunted. And I want to find out more. So tell me, did it warrant some good paranormal evidence for you?
Absolutely. This location was a lot of fun to investigate. And if I'm being honest, probably one of my absolute favorites, because just being in this location, it was myself and my videographer that night. And it was part of a full weekend long investigation. The first night, it was myself and her. And then on the second night, it was Soul Sisters Paranormal. And so they investigated, let me come along on a couple of their experiments on that second night. So to be in this hotel all by yourself, I mean, the area is truly isolated as well, in the middle of the Balsam Mountains there in North Carolina. And so, so it really does kind of harbored that the reputation of being the Stanley or the shining hotel of the South, just because you are in there. And a lot of the things that happen seem to be pretty psychological, because not just being in there with the paranormal activity, but just being in there alone really kind of messes with you a little bit. That place was active from the minute I got there until after we left, after the entire weekend.
Really? Well, I know in the 1900s, two brothers-in-law, Joseph Kenny and Walter Christie, went to the Balsam Mountains in the hopes of starting their business, and they opened up a boarding house before they built the actual hotel in 1908. And it's got like 100 rooms and all these porches, and as you saw from the pictures, breathtaking views. And because of the expansion of the railroad at that time, it brought in the influx of people, and it lasted that way for quite some time until, I guess, the railway went away, and then it became kind of like in an obscure kind of place. But I think it's pretty much haunted by old spirits, people that have visited there. Is that the impression that I have gotten? Yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly what I seem to encounter when I was there. I mean, what I really liked about it is the fact that these folks would take the train and they would come to the hotel and they would stay all summer, basically, as it was a nice getaway for them to relax and kind of rewind with the mountain air and everything. So that's what I really liked about that one, is that it was a different type of the spirits were a different type of activity, I guess, than some of the other locations that I typically visit. I either visit some of the darker locations or jails, prisons, asylums, that sort of thing. You just had a different type of spirit that was visiting this location. They essentially wanted to be there. There were a couple instances, one in particular, where there was a shooting that did take place down at the depot on the hillside below, and it was the body of the sheriff. It was brought up
That's
into the
it. Right,
jail.
right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Tell the story.
so he was brought up into this specific room, and his body was treated there. He did end up passing away. So that's one of the more nefarious things that happened there. But
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, I didn't have any type of dark activity or anything. It was just really good, solid paranormal activity the entire weekend.
Gotcha. He visited you that night. Did you get him at all, the sheriff?
I got a little bit of interaction in that room. Most of what I got was in Henry's Hall. Also, I like to sleep at these locations when I investigate them. And so the really cool thing about this location is they do have at least 98 rooms in there, and the rooms, none of them have a TV. They keep them very rustic. Each one is different. Some of them are set up as suites. Some of them are set up as just regular rooms. And so both of those nights, the first night ended up sleeping in the room that supposedly the sheriff's, or allegedly the sheriff's, body was taken into. And I did
Mm-hmm.
get some interesting activity on the REM pods. I did get my name called that night while I was sleeping.
Mm.
Did get some interesting spirit box responses. And then, of course, on the second night, when I was there with Soul Sisters Paranormal, and the clip that I did provide on that was, we were getting ready to go to bed. And so we had picked a room that was a suite. I was sleeping in the front area. Soul Sisters Paranormal, Dr. Christie and her sister, Dr. Jenny Sumner, they were sleeping in the back room. And so we had just got to finish talking about how we were sitting up and getting everything together for to leave the next day. And so we were kind of sad because we had such a great weekend that weekend, or the both nights. And so the EVP that we ended up capturing while we were sleeping, it was actually a disembodied voice. And so we did hear it in the moment. It sounded like it was coming from my room area, and they heard it back in their suite as well. So we believe
Ah.
it. I'm not going to say what it says till after we play it, but we believe it was talking about the fact that we were just talking about packing up to leave.
Oh, cool. Well, Chris, I sent you that link to the footage, and it's called the Grand Old Lady footage. So if you could play that for us, we would love to see if we could figure out what it's saying.
I'm not
Is
hearing
there
any.
any? Yeah, I don't hear any sound either. But you have it written there that the verbiage says, "Please don't go," huh?
Oh yeah, I
We're
mean
not getting any. We're
there's
not getting
sound
any.
to it. Yeah.
The sound. You have to turn off the sound. The sound. I think it's on mute, Chris, on the lower bar. I think it looks like it's on mute. That's
I can
cool
hear it
though.
on my end.
Can you? Yeah, no, I can't hear it here,
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
unfortunately. All I can see is the video footage. Well, that's a bummer. I wonder why. Maybe he's going to try it again. Enhanced audio. It did look like there was an orb on there too, though. Did you see an orb in that video
Uh,
footage?
yeah, and could have potentially been dust. Not really sure. But it's interesting. It happened right after. I mean, it's
Sure.
amazing disembodied voice. I hear it. I call it out there when we're listening to or when we hear it, and also Soul Sisters, they respond as well. So it's a male's voice. When he goes to share the audio, he needs to make sure that he clicks the share audio as well. I'm not sure if he's sharing it from screen or if he's uploading it.
The link that you sent me is what I sent him. So he's getting
Right.
exactly the same link.
Right.
Yeah, the audio is on. I clicked share audio.
You did, huh?
Hmm.
Well, if they want to actually see that video, they can go to your Ghost Explorers website, correct?
Ghost Biker
Miranda?
Explorations.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they can see it there. They can
Yes.
go and listen to it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get that here tonight. But I could see the words that you wrote from it. So
Mm-hmm.
clearly, the spirit did not want you to leave. So
Yeah.
that's really sad. Well, you also went to the Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in Petros, Tennessee, and we have pictures of that building as well. Credits to the Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary opened in 1896. Say that 3 times fast. Brushy Mountain. It wasn't always a jail. For decades, it was a coal mine in the state of Tennessee with dangerous working conditions. Nope, that's not it. Because state governments couldn't afford to build and maintain prisons or feed, shelter, and clothe inmates, a convict lease program was enacted to cut costs and bring in money. But this led to a multitude of future problems and skirmishes, ultimately leading to the construction of the actual prison building. And by 1896, prisoners were put to hard labor, and ongoing violence, deadly mining accidents, and chronic illness ensued. So that definitely sounds like it would be a place where it would be very active, considering all the deaths in the mines and so on and so forth. Want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so that location is known as End of the Line, and it held the worst of the worst. It's located there in Petros, Tennessee, and it's right there in the middle of the mountains. Even one wall of the prison itself is made out of the mountainside. And so this location, it housed James Earl Ray. It housed some of the other inmates, and some of those different inmates. People do get different activity relating to those inmates. I've investigated that location on 6 different occasions, and I ended up highlighting it in season 2, episode 1. And it was a collaboration investigation with my videographer, Josh, as well as Soul Sisters Paranormal. Now, the video clip that I sent actually comes from my second time investigating there. And so it was part of a 2-night investigation. The very first night, I investigated completely alone. Second night, there was that was like the historic Scott County Jail there.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with this, Chris.
So anyways, on the second night, I was investigating with 9 other teams. And so typically what I like to do, I had spent the full night investigating, and I was wanting to get a little bit of sleep there to rest up for the next investigation night. And so I went down to the hole. That area is the solitary confinement area. They've got 4 cells down there. It literally is like going down into a hole. It's pitch
Oh,
black.
really?
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
It's pitch black. They would keep them in there for up to 28 days sometimes. And when you
Oh,
come out,
wow.
your senses were completely deprived. And
Oh, I'll bet.
so since it was completely dark, I went down there, and I had a lot of activity there the very first time I investigated there. And so I laid down, I slept for 3 hours and 30 minutes and ended up getting 3 minutes and 15 seconds of some of the best evidence that I've ever captured. Basically, I
Really?
had my audio recorder as well as camera while I was sleeping there, and a lot of very intelligent Class A EVPs, as well as a lot of residual activity. And so, what I've done on this clip is it plays for the 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and it breaks it down the time frame as to when each one is captured.
And that's the Brushy Mountain footage that Chris is going to put up for us now. Hopefully, we've got the sound on this one. So we'll see. Brushy Mountain footage. Sorry, Miranda.
Oh, that's okay.
I could see the little circle going on there in the video, but it's not popping up.
That looks like that's the middle of the footage.
Okay. Ooh. Oh, wow.
Yeah, some of the most incredible footsteps I've given.
Oh my goodness. That you got a lot of stuff. Oh my goodness.
So something interesting to note, there's no power in the prison at this time. And so we believe that this was residual laundry running in the upstairs level above the hole.
Wow. And when you heard the breathing, that heavy breathing, was it like right near you?
I didn't wake up any while I
No.
was sleeping, so it would have been near my recorder. That at the bottom of my screen is where my recorder's sitting.
Right. Oh wow, that's neat. And you were in there all by yourself.
I was.
You're brave. I always have to have somebody with me.
This last little bit, I am not sure if that's actually what that is, but it does go on for 5 minutes, and it sounds like just a rubber ball getting bounced against the wall.
And that could be residual too. I mean, giving them something to do with their time, and that's something that they did. But yeah, it does sound like a ball bouncing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 5 minutes. Wow.
Yeah. And so a couple things on that. Like I said, at the time there were no power at this location. Now they did after so that particular time when I investigated that, I believe was in 2015. Now in 2019, they did open as a tourist destination. And so they have where you can go and get moonshine, do moonshine tastings, have a restaurant there. They have day tours and such. So it's interesting. It was very interesting to see the activity evolve from the first time that I investigated there in 2014 all the way to after my last time, which would have been in 2019, whenever I filmed the episode. I did do a flashback to that time that I slept there, and I show that in my episode as well. Because when I went there the very first time, that was before I was doing Ghost Biker. It was when I was doing investigating before I had built my brand of Ghost Biker.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing that evolution and also being able to go back, show some of it where there was power at the time there in 2019 to way before it was, and just seeing how the activity changed was really fascinating. Also, as far as the ball goes, I didn't really understand that, other than maybe, yes, somebody's probably sitting there trying to pass time. But I was talking to a corrections officer at a different facility, and he said the timing actually kind of adds up on that and makes sense. He said that was one of the things that they used to give their inmates at the time, because the rubber balls, they couldn't be fastened into any type or fashioned into any type of contraband or
Weapon, yeah.
weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to, have that and, safely be able to use that as an item to pass the time.
Gotcha. Oh, so then that makes sense. Then it
Yeah.
made sense. Interesting. Yeah, it definitely does sound like a rubber ball for sure.
And also with the time, because for some reason the clip didn't start right there at the very beginning. So it was about 8:30 in the morning whenever I slept down there. And so I believe a lot of the residual activity came from that specific time. They would have definitely been doing laundry at that time up on the floor above, or real early in the morning like that. The conversations going on between the cells around that time. Of course, if they were in the cells, they wouldn't have known, because it would have been pitch black.
Right. I love when things like that happen, when the pieces come together and it makes sense.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, you also went to the old Fentress County Jail in Jamestown, Tennessee. And we have some pictures too that Chris is going to put up. Picture credit to the old Fentress County Jail website. It doesn't look like a whole hell of a lot. It's
No.
pretty small, actually. A 2-story structure built in 1898, and it's the oldest public building in Fentress County, and served as both the county jail and the sheriff's residence from 1898 to 1979, when the new jail opened behind the county courthouse. Tell me, what made you pay a paranormal visit there?
So this jail is actually located in the county right next door to where I'm from. And so I've seen this jail all my life and heard different stories about it. Currently, they do have their Chamber of Commerce set up in there, and you can go in and you can tour the museum part. The way the jail is set up, it is rather small. And so the front part of the building that it shows there, that was the jailer's house. The back part, that little small section, it's 2 stories, and that would have been where the inmates would have been, the actual jail itself. And so I was actually over there visiting them with the historic Scott County Jail, dropping off some brochures, and we just got into a conversation about the activity that they have inside that location. And so they invited me to come and investigate. And so one week I went, did an investigation, and got some really interesting things. And I thought, I want to go back and kind of expand on this and see, because nobody had really, only one team had investigated it before I went in there. And so I wanted to see if maybe that familiarity of going in, interacting, if that could trigger something different the next week. And so last season 5, I ended up covering all jails there during my season. And so I covered this in episode 1 of season 5. And probably some of the most unexplainable activity. The one that I'm going to show. So there was an inmate that was held in there known as Billy Dean Anderson. And Billy Dean Anderson was essentially an escape artist. And so he had been convicted of several different crimes within there. He escaped, and he was on the FBI's most wanted list for 4 years. While he was on their list, he did go and hide out in a cave. And so he lived there for quite some time. He was also known as an amazing artist. And I believe that circulating throughout the community, there are about 300 paintings specifically of Jesus Christ that this guy painted. And so so when I went into the location on that first week, the second week, I wanted to actually take in some trigger items that he might be able to identify with. And so I found that on that particular night, my Ovilus 5, as well as Spirit Box, got some, it was very, very active, very intelligent responses. But when I pull out the paintbrush as a trigger item, we get some really incredible responses. Now, one of the things I wanted to make sure to do when I did this was I never once said anything relating to the trigger item that I was going to pull out. You can, especially if you're using an app or different types of tools, like say this pen, if I was to pick it up and say, what color is this pen? You're kind of leading with a color or leading with an item. I wanted to keep my questions very vague. And like I said, I really have no explanation for the responses that I was able to capture on this Spirit Box.
And that's the paintbrush video that you sent to us, right?
Yes.
Okay, Chris, we could show that one now. I can't wait to see it. Paintbrush video.
Did you kill a law enforcement officer? Did you injure some officers? All right, so any way you can you see what I'm holding up? Okay, I can hear you back there. Seems can you touch really that little red light? Can you see this item I'm holding up?
Ah.
Oh, I have to go back and listen. I don't know what that said. I thought it said it's mine. I heard you were a fantastic artist. I don't know why I feel drawn to this last cell. Got this tool again. Last week, you used it to say a few words. Bar. Now we've got jail bars around us. We're in a cell. Is this your cell? Upon and ceiling. It's very low ceiling. This is a very, very small cell. We must have done something bad to get in here. How many people were in here with you? Can you tell me what this is? Billy Dean Anderson? If you're in this area, can you tell me what this is? Can you see it? Paint.
Are you serious?
Holy crap, it's in paint. Yeah, so I mean, other than actually being able to see us, I really have no other explanation as to how they got it on both the obelisk as well as on the spirit box. That investigation even goes on so far as to they say they want to play a game. We play some cards, and I have 5 cards facing down. I end up doing 3 hands, and out of those 3 hands, 5 cards each hand, I lift the card up. I was able to get them to identify 2 cards, which I truly believe the spirits that were inside of this location absolutely were intelligent. They were aware of what we were doing. And really, like I said, I have no explanation of how they did that other than the fact that they were able to see us and recognize that tool.
Wow. That's great. That's really great. I love it. Very good footage. Very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then we wind down to your historic Scott County Jail in Huntsville, Tennessee. Now you can put that picture up, Chris. Picture credit to the Scott County Jail. And that's the front of the building, obviously, where you're part owners with paranormal investigator soul sister Chris Sumner, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Please tell us about your wonderful location.
So I'm originally from Scott County, Tennessee, and the jail, it's located here in Huntsville, Tennessee, in the county seat. It was in operation from 1904 until 2008, and we've had some very interesting events that have taken place here at the jail. Everything from a sheriff that was killed at the front door to different inmates who were taken out of here via mob mountain justice and lynched or executed on different places on the property. And then just different acts of violence, suicides, murders, that sort of thing that's taken place throughout the 120 years that the jail has been in operation. And a lot of very, very interesting history just within the county itself. And so we ended up coming in 2021 and petitioning the town to, or the mayor and the alderman, to open up a true crime museum and then have it open as a paranormal research center at night. And so we have had, at this point in time, we've had almost right around 100 teams in here. And some of these teams have gotten some absolutely incredible evidence. This piece of footage that I sent to you all actually comes from our security camera, and it's taken from our gift shop. When we have paranormal teams here to investigate, one of us is always on site. We say we're on site, but out of sight. And so after the investigation is over, usually whoever is working that night will go up, lock up the doors, kind of clean things up and get it ready for whoever is opening the next morning. And so on this particular night, I had taken some paperwork from the gift shop in here to the booking room where I'm sitting at right now. And as I was crossing through the hall, I ended up hearing this really deep, rich voice humming from what I believe was between the second and third floors of the jail. It went for about 3 seconds, clears its throat, goes for about 3 more and stops. And I was really quite taken aback because at this point in time, we had opened early September, and I think we had been open about 2 weeks at this point in time. Now, we had the keys about 2 months beforehand, and we were, really trying to get them acclimated and let them know what we were doing. And so I was so excited by what we had captured. I go back into the gift shop and I get my stuff and I contact Chris and I said, hey, when you come in the next morning, check the security cam footage at this time and see if we were able to capture that hum. Now, we didn't capture the hum, but we did capture what we believe are two very intelligent voices talking about what just happened.
Oh, neat. Very neat. Okay, so that's the gift shop video that we're going to watch next, Chris.
And it should play it through 3 times.
3 times.
Mm-hmm. Looks like it didn't play it once. And so as I'm getting my stuff, I actually hear something out in the hall, but I don't hear those voices in the moment. And so when we go back and listen to it, we believe that there are 2 voices. One says, "There she is," and the other says, "Not so loud next time." So that's very much in line with the type of activity that we get here. The spirits, they're very intelligent. They're very aware. And we believe that whoever was humming on the stairs, that these 2 people were responding, saying that there I was, and that telling that person on the stairs to maybe not be so loud next time.
Gotcha. And have you heard the humming since? Have you ever heard it again?
I've not heard that particular humming, but we do get whistling, we get keys jingling, we get a lot of disembodied voices here. And we've heard singing. Whoever this was had just this amazing, really deep voice. In the very beginning, when I first heard as I was passing through, I thought that maybe at first that it was a car or something, until it cleared its throat. And then started up again. It was just like I literally froze. I wish there had been a camera out there in the hall, because I literally froze and was like, "Oh, I don't have a recorder with me. I can't believe this is happening." 6 seconds is quite a long time in paranormal time for something to happen. And so I was disappointed that we didn't actually capture the hum on the security cameras. But it was up between the 2nd and 3rd floor. So in that area,
hey, you got two great disembodied voices. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of activity on that landing there, where we believe that the person was humming. Different teams have captured voices, people talking. They have captured a man specifically talking in that area. This jail, I mean, we're between Chris and myself, we're here up to about 16 hours a day. And being in here every day, we're really able to, we feel, be able to really conduct some true paranormal research. And so, we've really got to learn what a lot of the spirits, certain ways that they like to be able to communicate. We're able to kind of identify certain ones based on the way that they want to communicate with us. So it's been very interesting transitioning from investigator to paranormal location owner, and then just seeing the different types of activity that people get as they come in here and do their different styles and techniques of investigations, and be able to compare them, when they come in and tell us what they've captured or send us evidence later on. It's really interesting to be able to compare that and say, hey, you talked to somebody that quite a few teams have had interaction with, because they're responding in this same way.
Sounds like it could have been maybe a night watchman or something of the cells, a cell watcher or something. But it would be really interesting to know if down the line you actually get a name that you could trace back to somebody. That would be very great if you could get a name to trace back to somebody who actually worked at the jail or was housed there. You
Yeah,
know.
we do know of several inmates that we do get a lot of activity from, as well as the sheriff who was killed at the front door. We get him on all three levels. We're
Ah,
actually tonight is actually the anniversary of probably our most infamous inmate that was, or inmates that was taken out of the jail and lynched about a mile and a half off the property. Jerome Boyett and Harvey Winchester, they were taken out 90 years ago tonight. And so we get a lot of different activity relating to that. And then we get a lot of activity relating to some jailer. We've not been able to pinpoint who it is. We do believe it's residual, but we get some incredible footsteps that go around the jailer's walk. And we've been able to pinpoint them to certain times at night that tend to be around the top of the hour. Anywhere from 10 till to the top, that people, will capture these really crazy, we call them sticky boot steps. And so, we don't know who that would be, because again, in 120 years of operation, we had a lot of jailers come through there, but we definitely have been able to pinpoint some of our sheriffs, some of our inmates that we do get regular activity from.
your jail mascot, Selly, does she ever react to the spirits? Do you ever see her get sensitive?
Sometimes she does. So she basically stays down here on the first floor. She lives here day and night. During the day when
It's a
we're
cat, by
working,
the way,
yes.
for the
During
listeners. It's a cat.
during the day, she goes in and out of the jail, but at night she stays on the first floor. And there were times when she would go up onto the second and third floor, especially the third floor, which is maximum security. She would act like something was petting her. She would start
Oh.
purring real loud,
Mm.
playing through the bars. Also, when we do our flashlight tours, she'll sometimes go with us. And when things are kind of quiet up on that third floor in the women's cell, you can tell when Sally walks in, because some of the tools will start to go kind of crazy. So we've had different instances where we believe that she's had some interactions with some of our spirits.
Ah,
Thankfully,
I'll
they've
bet.
not bothered her. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Wow, this has been really a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me today. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how they could find you and your website and your show and the jail and all that?
Absolutely. And again, thank you for having me on today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So the best way to find me is on the Ghost Biker Explorations Facebook page, YouTube channel, and www.ghostbikerexplorations.com. You can watch all the past 5 seasons on all 3 of those platforms. You can be on the lookout for any lives that I do, as well as season 6, which will be coming out in October. It will release a new episode will release every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, followed by a Behind the Screams live on Thursday nights, where we go on and we talk live about all of the different locations where you can come on and ask questions and such. I also host a weekly live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern called Ghost Biker Garage Live, where I have authors, podcasters, paranormal investigators, location owners, basically anyone doing anything in the paranormal community. They come on Thursday nights, and we share their evidence, talk about what they do. And Historic Scott County Jail, you can go and follow along with myself and my business partner, Dr. Christy Sumner, there at historicscottcojail.com, as well as Historic Scott County Jail Facebook page. We have a live stream called the Jailhouse Informant that we're not doing new episodes at this time because we're so busy, but we've got about 30 something episodes, and we'll pick that up probably here in a month or two, where we talk to other jail location owners, chambers of commerce, that sort of thing, that are located inside of the jails. And we also have, the Historic Scott County Jail Instagram page, and Sally herself has an Instagram page. So she is Sally the Jail Cat, spelled Celly, like a cellmate. And then we just recently, about a little less than a month ago, opened or expanded our venture with historic rugby after dark tours and investigations. And so we've got a website as well as Facebook page for that as well.
Wonderful. Busy bunch of ladies, that's for sure.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much. I know you are in a rush to go off to your next venture as well. So I'll leave you with that. I appreciate you coming tonight.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And to you listeners, if you enjoyed listening to this week's episode and you're into all things paranormal, check out my other show, Eleanor Wagner's Strange and Scary World podcast out of the Paranormal UK Radio Network, which is available wherever you get your podcasts. If any of you are interested in reading any of my books, you can find links to them on my website, authoreleanorwagner.com. I write about the history of the town and location, add the paranormal story to the mix, and finish it all off with photos and evidence. And I'm excited to share that I now have t-shirts available from both my Creepin It Reel podcast and Strange and Scary World podcast. Anyone interested in getting one, email me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. They're $15 each. Lastly, viewers, tune in on Thursday, June 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when I'll be interviewing the Phantom detectives about their many investigations and the evidence they've unearthed. Thank you and good night.
I hope you've enjoyed this little journey down my own personal nightmare alley. If you're one of those people who experiences the paranormal and has stories of your own you've been filing away over the years, I want to hear about them. And if you're a part of a paranormal investigative team, even better. I'd love to have you on my show. Got a questionable photo? Send it in. Would love to have an open discussion here amongst the professionals. Reach out to me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. Enjoy our soundtrack music, Headless Horseman by Alexander Nakarada, promoted by freestockmusic.com. And remember, no ghost story is better than a real-life ghost story. Until we meet again, make sure you're creeping it real.